Hey guys, and welcome to a tournament showdown between two of the fiercest competitors in the multiplayer scene. On the left hand side we have Loopy and his forces of the Wood Elves up against Pantalonada and his Beastmen hordes, and this is an ODM showdown. That clan is doing some incredible domination right now in the tournament scene, so it's not a shock to see these guys meeting up on the battlefield. We're actually going to pause this battle before we get underway, as it gets underway very quickly, and the reason I wanted to showcase this battle, not only because it is absolutely awesome, but it also highlights key elements of tournament play in the form of mobility and map dominance. Being able to hit your opponent when they don't want to be hit, get them to engagements which favour you, and dictate the state of the game is absolutely crucial in top tier play, and we're going to see a bucket ton of it from both players today. By the forces of the Wood Elves, we have cavalry on this left-hand flank with double Glade Riders, as well as some Wild Riders down on this side. Then we have the Sisters of Thorn in the central pocket. Very underrated skirmish cav unit in my humble little duck opinion. They have some really lovely bound abilities in the Curse as well as Shield of Thorns, but more importantly, they actually come in with 40% physical resistance, making them relatively tanky despite only having 15 armor. We do have 1, 2, 3 units of Glade Riders with Hagbane tips down here in the central portion of the battle. And on the right hand side we have some of the heavy hitting Great Stag Knights, some of my favourite looking lords in the entire game. Look at these bad boys. They roll up and they get their horns right into the thick of the enemy. There's a bit of a visual bug at the moment, by the way, so when we zoom in, this gigantic kind of wall of just, I don't even know what it is, a wall of dirt, I guess, appears before us. Hopefully it won't interfere too much. We do have triple Dryads as well, one of which is the Regiment of Renowned over on the far side. We then have a Spell Singer up in the skies with the Earthblood, Shield of Thorns, and I believe that is Awakening Wood. I don't get to see it terribly often anymore. Let's have a little look. Yeah, we have Awakening Wood in there and a Power Stone. Leading this battle line is going to be the Sisters of Twilight, very good in this matchup, and going full cavalry, or at least majority cavalry, is pretty common now up against the Beastmen. They're a very powerful rush faction. The best way to deal with them is shoot them, but how can you shoot them if they're going to rush you? Well, you be on some fast elvish steeds and you run away. These ladies are going to be coming in today with Conjoined Destiny, as well as the advantage there, increasing their armor piercing missile damage, base missile damage, and reload skill. For the forces of Pantalonada and his Beastmen hordes, we do have 1, 2, 3, 4 Ungor Spearheads in the front, backed up by triple Ungor Raiders and a unit of the Blackhorn Ravengers. Over on the left-hand side, we have a load of mobility, double Centaurs, as well as some Chaos Warhounds of Poison, and a copycat of that on the right-hand side as well. In reserve, we have triple Centaurs with thrown axes, so a load of cavalry, and 2 spellcasters. 2 spellcasters, very popular in the current meta up against Wood Elves due to their ability to be able to snipe out casters really well. Bray Shaman coming in with Spirit Leech, and then we have a Tradekin on the Bray Shaman of Wild, and leading the battle line we have Morga the Shadowgave, one of the most disgusting creatures in the new and the old world, able to spawn Chaos Spawn into the realms of man to destroy them. So the Elves do get some nice cycle charging in the front. You can see the Sisters of the Thorn immediately pounce upon the spears before falling back, and we can see Glade Riders and Wild Riders doing that at the same time. But on the left-hand side, this is going to cause the Glade Riders to have to do a rather desperate counter charge into the Centaurs, which is really not where they want to be whatsoever. And beautiful play here. Rather than overloading into this unit, he's manoeuvring Centaurs and Warhounds around to stop any counter charge coming in, pinning the Glade Riders in pace and starting to overwhelm them. This is a really lovely engagement here, and not falling for that trap of chucking all your units at one enemy. However, there's going to be a lovely counter charge from the Wild Riders and the Sisters of Thorn. A beautiful Tradekin goes down on the Glade Riders. They're going to be taking a bucket ton of damage. That spell's so good up against cavalry. And on the left-hand side, you can see that, yes, we did lose a unit of Chaos Warhounds, but we lost 2 units of Glade Riders for the cost. A really lovely early engagement there from the forces of the Beastmen. Awakening Wood is going to go down on those Ungor Raiders as the Spell Singer of Life floats above the enemy, taunting them and laughing in their faces. And now we get a nice little combo here. Great Stag Knights are going to charge downhill into the Chaos Warhounds, as well as some Dryads into the Centaurs, and combined with the firing prowess of the Glade Riders with Hagbane tips, a load of damage is now coming in on top of this skirmish core, and it looks like the Ungor Raiders are getting forced back by the Sisters of Twilight as the infantry push is starting to move in, and the Great Stag Knights do retreat once more. Over on the high ground, it does look like the Wood Elves managed to recover from that early loss and kind of dodgy engagements. We can see the Glade Riders as well as the Wild Riders bounding across the battlefield after those Centaurs in hot pursuit, and elsewhere Centaurs are getting driven back by the Sisters of Thorn, who have plenty of potential to kite here and buy time for those Wild Riders to bounce back into action and force back the throwing axes. In the infantry fight, though, the Dryads are really getting overwhelmed right now. There's simply too many Blackhorn Ravengers, Ungor Herds, and Centaurs in this mist. And it looks like the Great Stag Knights fell a little bit too far back. We've also got the Casters coming in and even more Centaurs, though we do have the Overwatch support of the Glade Riders of Hagbane Tips. Not doing bad whatsoever. The first of the Chaos Spawn summons does go down. It looks like it's going to alter time and space of the map as they appear, enabling them to overwhelm the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart and jump in on this next unit of Dryads. The Great Stag Knights taking the long road approach, looking to shut down these Ungor Raiders, though some good micromanagement by the Beastmen. Seems like they're going to pull back those Centaurs. No, they're going to drive them back into the fray, perhaps abandoning the Ungor Raiders. Now, this could be a big problem, as the Great Stag Knights are going to lower those Lancers and Horns and charge in, but the Centaurs get that counter punch instead. Force the Great Stag Knights to commit to that fight, then you jump on them as well, getting that lovely charge bonus and mitigating the enemy. So a pretty desperate fight in the back burners there. Over on this right hand side, looks like the Beastmen are slowly gaining the upper hand now. There's been some quite frankly ridiculously good micromanagement by the Wood Elves to do some good cycle charging here, but the Glade Riders simply don't have the stomach for long grindy fights. Centaurs of Thrown Axes are getting on top of them, as well as those Chaos Warhounds are poisoned. So it looks like the Sisters are going to disengage and fall back into the main fight, because in that central pocket, the Wood Elves are doing a fantastic job right now. Centaurs being forced back, Ungor Raiders are indeed shattered, though a lovely Traderkin once again goes down. It is an overcast one, catching out those Glade Riders, which are a really problematic unit for the Beastmen. They do so much damage to all of their troops and are almost impossible to catch, so dropping that Traderkin on them does some really nice damage over time there. Sisters of Twilight up in the sky still have decent amounts of ammunition. We have 8 volleys left. They're running multi-shots down at the moment. Will be switching to single shots if they're going after the casters. That was most likely just left on at fire at will there. Glade Riders continue to fall back, maybe looking to take this charge with the Chaos Warhounds. If Glade Riders get the charge, they normally overwhelm the Hounds, and only a few of their models actually are able to connect there, but it does allow doing a relatively decent in the engagement. Unfortunately, a lot of the other models are kind of getting hooked up on enemy units, and the Beastmen are starting to assert their dominance here. With so many Thrown Axes left on the field, they can do a load of damage, and it does seem like the Sisters of Form were caught and dealt with by those Warhounds with poison. We still have Wild Riders though. We still have 37 and 7 Great Stag Knights, a few Glade Riders, and you can never really count out the Wood Elves when they have 2 Mighty Eagles in the skies in the form of the Spellsinger and the Sisters of Twilight. Some nice battlefield control right now by the Wood Elves, using their added mobility to hunt down these loose units of Beastmen forces. Ungor Raiders on their own, jump them. Ungor Raiders over here on their own, jump them. It's the best way to get back into a game like this when the balanced power does start to push itself against you. So the Twilight are focusing down at the Brave Shaman of Wild, which I think is a fantastic choice. In fact, should have probably been the main target from the off, due to the fact that those Traderkins could do so much damage to this Wood Elf build. Ungor Raiders have indeed been shattered, and the cavalry is going to continue to stick and move, never staying in one place too long, just moving out, hunting down enemy units, and being on the retreat where possible. We even have more Dryads coming back to the battlefield, and Glade Riders of Hagbane Tips being moved into combat to escort Centaurs and shatter them. Probably going to continue that charge over into the Chaos Warhounds of Poison, I would expect. And here they go. They're easily going to break the Doggos. Doggos don't have the greatest morale, as you'd expect from wild beasties. And now it looks like the Brave Shaman of Wild has been picked off. That band's power moving back closer to the center. Lovely late game management here by Loopy, but is it enough? The Centaurs have thrown axes. There are so many of them right now, and they're launching axe after axe at the Sisters, who are doing some nice return fire, and I think they probably know they don't have enough ammunition to kill any of these single entities anymore. Great Stag Knights are rallying the Wraiths of the Frozen Heart. To me, lads, back into the fray, and they charge downhill, looking to bring the pain to their enemy. Sisters getting very low on ammunition now, just 2 volleys left. Wild Riders considering taking the fight, but decide to, you know what, fall back a little while longer, buy time to continue to pick off these Ungor Spearheads on the periphery. I'll even take the Great Stag Knights all the way out here on the distance to hunt down those Ungor Spearheads, who are currently trying to hide behind a wall of dirt. The mighty Sisters of Twilight, as well as the Spellsinger of Life, are jumping these Tentacles of Thrown Axes. A lovely Awakening Wood once again goes down, pinning these Tentacles in place, allowing the Wild Riders to dish out some pain, and they certainly will beat Tentacles in a vacuum, but they are very outnumbered right now. There's also Gore Herds here. Glade Riders are chucking them bodies on the line. Great Stag Knights lowering those horns and charging in, or antlers, more than horns, and it looks like they're going to be able to break those Ungor Spearheads. A lot of decent cycle charging in the later stages of the game, but the Wood Elf force is very beat up as well. The last volley has been spent by the Sisters. They're up to an impressive 99 kills though. Dryads are on the warpath and approach, and it seems like the Wild Riders and Great Stag Knights are intent on hunting down at the Centaurs, hoping that the Eagles can catch up, pin them in place, and allow that charge speed of these units to engage with the enemy forces. Dryads are trying to run around the single entities, the Hero and the Lord, and hunt down the Ungor Spears. Just shatter these units, it is the best way to go. Glade Riders are bursting forth, looking to run down the Blackhorn Ravengers. This is for all the damage you did to Athaloran. They're going to trample them into the dirt, and they get pushed along. Some of them get trampled. Maybe not the most epic of charges, but hey, they are meant to be long-range skirmish cav at the end of the day. Centaur's doing some lovely kiting right here. Centaur Throne Axes are such a crucial unit to the Beastmen roster, and they're doing some really nice damage. The Great Stag Knights have lowered their heads in their charge animation, but aren't quite able to catch, and they're going to continue to charge in, and some more Throne Axes do get launched backwards, 360 no-scope style. It looks like the Ungor Spearhead support has been dealt with. The double hero core is quite strong. If I was probably the Wood Elves in this situation, I'm going to take all my cavalry and continue to hunt down the Centaurs and cycle charge these two down here with my heroes as much as possible. Glade Riders with Hagbane tips, well, without Hagbane tips now as they're out of ammo, are going to be absorbing quite a lot of damage from these Throne Axes, but there's only 10 coming at them. If they do catch the enemy and engage, it's most likely going to shatter the Centaurs and force them off the field, but instead jump in the Ungor Spearheads, catch those units, you can actually get really nice and early there. It looks like we are going to maybe see a Chaos Spawn summon. This is a beautiful trap placed by the Beastmen forces, so the Sisters plus the Spellsinger of Life were actually gooning out Morgul really successfully here, down to about half HP, but then he snaps. He brings the Chaos Spawn into the battlefield, and he's going to entice all this cavalry into a final confrontation, taking away their mobility advantage by pinning it in their Liege Lord. A Spirit Leech comes down, and the Sisters of Twilight are in all kinds of trouble. They need to escape here. If they can get that Conjoined Destiny and healed up, they're in a much safer place. Balance power goes massively in the Beastmen's favour, though, as the Glade Riders and Wild Riders and Great Stag Knights were sacrificed to keep the Sisters and the Spellsinger alive. Centaurs are being forced back. Two units are already broken. The Morgul stands supreme. The Chaos Spawn summon in the back pocket is such a deadly combo. Is it enough to pull the Beastmen through? They need to dish out the damage whilst the Spawn are alive, and it looks like the Great Stag Knights are in hot retreat. Wild Riders are in retreat, and the entire Wood Elf force is legging it to save their own skins. We still have the Spellsinger. Realistically, what the Sister Twilight want to do is actually absorb a little bit more damage so they can pop that Conjoined Destiny and get the heal. Otherwise, the balance power is not going to like them being this wounded at all. Ungor Spearheads are shattered and driven back from the battlefield. Centaurs with Throne Axes are moving in for the kill. They still have 6 volleys, and they completely fluff their lines and miss every single shot, and that's going to be the doom of them as the Sisters swoop down from the skies alongside the Spellsinger, looking to jump them, and you can see the Centaurs are indeed routing and fleeing. But Morgul the Shadowgate is certainly no pushover in combat, particularly when supported by a Brave Shaman of Death who can Spirit Leech. And we need to be a little bit careful here with the Sisters, as they are rather squishy, particularly in the later stages of the game when there's not that much magic on the field for those healing. You can see a little marker did pop up there saying flying units must land or you will forfeit the game. And by that, what this means is when you only have flying units left, no ground forces, when you only have flyers, to stop kind of really cheesy kite drawing and stuff on quick battles, your morale will just continuously drop unless you land, and then it will go back to normal, so you have to engage. And the Centaurs are being driven back off here and forced off the battlefield, but we still have 12 Centaurs of Throne Axes, 10 Centaurs of Throne Axes, a pretty much full health Brave Shaman of Death, and Morgul the Shadowgate has been regenerating this entire time. They got him down to about half HP. He's all the way back up to 3/4. Sisters need that buff. Unfortunately, they're going to have to stick it out and fight the entire time to get that heal because they can't fall back anymore. Morgul does get shoved to the ground by the Spellsinger of Life. The Sister Twilight are going to swoop in as well, desperately trying to pin him in place. However, it's going to be a bit of a sandwich here as the Centaurs look to move into hand-to-hand combat to try to break the morale of the Wood Elf forces. Sisters get in danger low right now. I don't think their Conjoined Destiny has popped. You normally see a little symbol appear just above them. There you go. It is popped, but it is a little bit too late as they break and run for their lives. and a valiant defeat there by Loopy and the forces of the Wood Elves in a awesome tournament game. This was a really good fun one to cast. I wanted to showcase it. It was from one of the earlier games, I believe, in one of my tournaments, so it didn't get shown on live stream or anything like that, but we wanted to celebrate it once more because I think it really does highlight how important forcing your opponent into bad engagements is. You can't let them make bad decisions. You have to make them make bad decisions. Constantly apply that pressure, dart around the battlefield, and after some good initial damage by Loopy, Pantalonado managed to set a beautiful trap, catching out a couple of the Glade Riders, giving himself a little bit more breathing space, a little bit more mobility advantage, because he was really lacking that at the very start of the battle, and then Loopy scrapped and clawed his way back in. And if he had taken more damage on the Sisters of Twilight in that initial engagement, so they got conjoined destiny, he actually would have been in a way better place in the later stages of the game, but alas, the Chaos Spawn trap was simply too much. Well played once again to these two lads. Fantastic game. Some lovely damage value here on the Sisters, and we're going to delve into the damage value, damage dealt, and kills of all of these units in just a second. But if you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a big fat juicy thumbs up, subscribe for more Total War Warhammer content into the future, as well as comment down below what you thought of the battle. There is going to be a bucket ton of links in the description. Feel free to check them out. There's a link to my Twitch. We didn't stream this week because it was my birthday week and I went home and we kind of relaxed a little bit more. We're going to be hopping back onto Twitch a bit more next week, most likely starting on Monday for our live stream. There's also links to my Patreon, my Discord, where you can submit replays just like Loopy did, and chill out with a load of cool guys. But enough of that, back to the awesome battle. 128 kills from the Sisters, over 12k damage dealt, 2,293 damage value. Yeah, beautiful work there by the Sisters. Just really unlucky their conjoined destiny didn't pop a little bit earlier. Spellslinger, 992 damage value, and the Dryades did okay, like nothing too crazy. They didn't have the best targets today, but they helped grind out a bit of the chaff. The Glade Riders got 27 and 21 kills between them. Just kind of getting ensnared early on by that Centaur ambush was a little bit rough for them. However, the heavier cavalry and the kind of heaviest of the light cav, the Wild Riders, did a load of damage. 177 kills and 124, 1,284 damage value from the Wild Riders of over 11k dealt. 1,099 damage value from the Great Stag Knights, 124 kills. Skirmish Cav did decent, 650 damage value, 1,000 damage value, and 469, so a bit of a mixed bag, but this unit of 132 kills certainly was a standout today for Loopy. 1,000 damage value from the Sisters of Thorn, a very underutilized and underrated Skirmish Cav option, in my opinion. As for Pantalonada, he did a really solid job here. Morga the Shadowgave being an absolute beast. 1,000 damage value. Don't knock off Morga, man. Just because Torx is way more powerful now and also a very good competitor, or I say way more powerful, he wasn't in the game before, but though he's a very good competitive option, Morga the Shadowgave is still really nasty. Brave Shaman of Death, 900 damage value, 1,700 on the Brave Shaman of Wild. Those Traitorkins came in so clutch. It's a very powerful spell. Arguably one of the most powerful spells in the game at the moment. The Ungors did, not much at all, which is to be expected. I mean, 540 and 444 damage value is not shabby. Nothing too impressive, though. Likewise, the Blackhorn Ravagers just kind of got overrun. As for the Ungor Raiders, 1 kill, 0 kills, and 4 kills, and the damage kind of reflects that. 190 damage value, 91 and 179 is not great. Centaurs performed really well though today. Centaurs got 620 damage value, 420, 114 and 462, so actually not as good as I was expecting. The Throne Axes, however, got 1,291 damage value, 1,010 and 1,162. Centaurs of Throne Axes might be the most pivotal unit in the Beastmen roster. They are so good for them and got the damage dealt today. Chaos Warhounds, 336 and 494 damage value. Doesn't seem insane, but they also chased off enemy units, and that poison sinking into the flesh of the Elvish steeds did allow the Centaurs to catch up and bring them the pain. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Until next time, peace, peace, and as always, stay awesome.